Welcome back to the Gin's Treasure. Today we're gonna do something a little fun with this Carnelian Stone. If you are like me, then you are an advocate crystal shopper, and when it comes to Carnelian, you'll notice that they do tend to have a very round shape to them. Fortunately, this one's pretty flat as well. Sometimes they have like a bead shape quite naturally. I don't know if it's natural or if it's just tumbled that way, but I do find that they are more often than not of this rounded shape, which can be a little tough to wrap sometimes. So today what we're gonna do is I want to show you a fun design for how to wrap it. I call it the flower style. So what I did is I just kind of eyeballed, let's see, so that's like 1, 2, 3 times the diameter. Is that the diameter? And then the circumference is around. 3 times the diameter length of the crystal. And what we're gonna do is first, we're gonna just pinch at the tip of the wire and twist. Just a little loop, just a little hook like that. And then from there, we're gonna peel off, let's say, about half an arm's length. So from the tip of my fingers to my elbow, or on the inside of the elbow, is known as the weenus with a W. This might be a little bit too much wire, but that's all right. As I always say, better to have too much than not enough. And so we're just gonna wrap around the entire, pretty much the entire length of the 20 gauge wire. By the way, this is the longer, I forgot to do that part. This is a 20 gauge wire, and this is a 24 gauge wire. So we're wrapping the 24 around the 20 gauge wire. And I can do most of the wrap just by hand, but then when it comes to the tip ends, I always recommend using some pliers. That way there's nothing poking out at the end. Like this one, for example, is a little pokey. So when I finish the wrap, not when I finish the entire wrap, but when I finish wrapping, actually I'll just do it right now. It doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter when it gets done, it just matters that it gets done. And so as I crushed it or pinched it, you see how it kind of went off at a diagonal angle. Just do your best to make sure that it stays aligned. It's kind of like a lazy finish to allow that, because really over time that could get undone and then end up poking out later, which is just no fun. So as I come towards the end of that wire, there's actually, the wire had slid, so I'm just gonna slide that over, and I have a little bit more room to work with on the wire here, on this wire end. And for this one, you wanna go ahead and make sure that your wraps are nice and tight together. What is it? I think that's just I had some peanut butter and honey toast earlier. I think that was just something that came off my finger from like a toasty crumb. It was was quite delicious. The guy at the store convinced me of the health benefits of the all natural honey, and aside from that, it just tastes amazing, but there is definitely a high price to pay for that. All right, so from here, what we're gonna do is just kind of do our best to bend this all the way into a circle, and then also we're gonna curl this tip as well. So there's just like 2 hooks at the end, and the idea is to get it rounded. And then we can just go ahead and cross that over both the loops, or you could even go inside of the loops. Either way, the idea is to just have them linked and locked together so that they don't come undone, and keeps that circle how it is. From there, we're gonna take some more wire, this time a little bit more. Let's do a hand's length, which might end up being a little bit more than we need, but that'll be all right. We'll do the same thing, just a little loop or hook at the tip, and let's go ahead and just throw that in there as well. So I ended up putting the wire through the loops to lock them in, so I'll continue that trend and put it through that loop hook as well, and then I'll continue the wrapping. And right away I can feel it that I'm gonna run out of wire before I finish this next step, and that's fine, because then I can just peel some more off the twine here, the spool, and just keep wrapping. And so what we're gonna do, let's see, that's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, wait, 8. So I always get a little dyslexic trying to count those bands. We'll do, say, 15 or so, just about there. And then what we're gonna do is curl it, and then mine kind of came out triangular, which is okay, but you really want to go for the round. And then from here, we're gonna poke the 24 gauge wire through the big O, and then wrap it around and continue on just the one wire. We're gonna do this going all the way around, and it's gonna end up looking like kind of a sun or a flower shape to it. And that's gonna be kind of what goes in the middle of this crystal. Now we could do the same theme on the back side. I'm a little undecided. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. Probably we will. But if not, you could always do your own fun design, which I might show some examples of that in a later video. All right, so let's see, that's one. I think we're ready for, nope, still got a ways to go. You really want to make sure that it really protrudes. And I don't want to have this finish right where I need to attach it here. So what I'm going to do is just clip off this wire now. Pinch and roll that pokey part out. And then I'm going to peel off some fresh 24 gauge wire. This time I'll do just over a full arm's length from fingertip to shoulder. And I'll just continue. You want to make sure you have it going in the same trend. So you see how the tip, it ends curling this way around the wire. Well, I want to have that continue. So what I'll do is put this short end and start curling that in the opposite direction. But that's because this is the tip end of it, if that makes sense. That way, when I flip it around and start continue wrapping the longer end, it will actually continue in the same direction as I had been previously wrapping. A minor detail, but pretty important. And if you'll notice, I don't necessarily have to continue right here. I have this gap, and that's because I can slide to adjust it when I'm ready. All right, and I'm gonna leave that tip. Here's a little tip for you, pun intended. I'm gonna leave that tip, that pokey tip out, just because it gives my fingers a little bit leverage to continue wrapping around the 20 gauge wire. I think I might have got a little distracted and caught up that I forgot to check the appropriate length. So this might be actually too much. So I'll just close off that little pokey tip, slide that down, and that is definitely too much. Let's see, how much do I want though? It's gonna be a little janky because of where it broke off. That tends to be where the wire wants to naturally bend from. And I can see, I think I had it perfect before I clipped that off. I should have wrapped it there. But yeah, maybe I could do something like a moon, like a little moon, crescent moon. Nah, I think I'll just, what will I do? I'm gonna undo this end from where I started. Just carefully unravel it. Just enough that I can wrap this around the already wrapped wire as well as this wire. So like that should probably be enough, which is funny because that's like exactly the length that I clipped off. Maybe not exact, but more or less the same. And I'm gonna poke that through. Feeling the peanut butter is making my hands a little slippery, so bear with it. And the pokey end kind of ends on this side as opposed to this side, so I'll keep that in mind for when I actually place it on the crystal, because I want that pokey side to be tucked in between the wrap and the crystal instead of poking out. And I didn't necessarily make it too tight, and that's all right because it's not necessarily holding anything together except for this part, which will be attached here and here anyway, so it's not really, I'm not worried about it falling apart or going anywhere. And then let's see, so from there, do a little bit more. And 15 was just kind of a generic number. It doesn't have to be exactly 15. I'm never very exact with my numbers anyway. I just kind of wrap into the flow. And then, so from here, we'll take the pliers, bend it so that we have 1, 2, and 3 little star points. And then from here, we're gonna once more take the tip end of the 24 gauge wire, poke it through the middle. It's kind of like mean, I don't know much about crochet, but I've seen it done before, and it kind of reminds me of crochet. And then we're just gonna do, we'll probably be able to fit like, probably just one more big star point. So it'll be a 4-sided star, or sun, star, flower, whatever. Fish, mammal, whatever. If you're a Seinfeld fan, you'll get that pun. I think that looks about right. I'll do a few more actually, because this is going to be the big one. All right. I'll do a little bit more, just a little bit. Kind of really accentuate this last flower point, flower petal. And then from here, once more, kind of pinch down in the middle with the pliers to bend it. And then we're gonna lock it into place. And we're just gonna tuck right under where all those hooks go, or those, the tips of the 20 gauge wire, these hooks right here. And then from there, we're gonna go once more over so that the flower really wraps around the full amount of the stone. And then the centerpiece is like a little window to see the center of the stone. And so for these ones, it's definitely gonna be, you're gonna need to wrap a longer length. And if you notice, the way that I hold this makes it really easy to go fast. And what I'm doing is I'm not only spinning with this hand, but I'm also twisting with this one it's like speeding up 2 times as fast, the process that it takes. And then from here, I'm gonna attach it to kind of the tip of this star point or flower petal. Just by wrapping it through, just as I did before with the center. And then we'll peel out once that's tight. We also want to make sure that none of the wires are overlapping on this end, which it was a second ago, but I just used my fingernail to slide it up and get it into the place where I want to align it. Same thing with the fingernail. If during the wrap it starts to go a little bit off skew, giving the wraps bigger gaps than you want. Like I said, you want to keep them nice and tight. It just looks more aesthetically pleasing. And then we're basically gonna go wrap until we can get to this point, but we want to do a little bit of extra so that there's some rounded edge to it, so it continues to have points going outwards. I say points, but they're really rounded. This is what I mean by the points. Points, petals. We'll call it petals just to not to confuse it with technical terms. I feel like point is a technical term. So you see how there's a little bit of roundedness to it, and I've met in the middle here. So now I'm ready to once again weave through this gap right here. And then once I get through that gap, I pull it tight. And then I can bend this wire outwards and then continue wrapping on it. Funny, I always seem to get these songs, random songs, stuck in my head every time that I'm wire wrapping. And this time, it's like these songs that I like are by artists that I don't listen to, but they're like popular radio songs or something. Let's see, so we'll do a little bit more. And so the song, I don't know the name of it, I don't even know the artist. But it's the one that's like, I'm just a kid and my life is not fair, which is very much like not the type of music that I listen to, so it's kind of funny. Alright, so here we are again. We got a little bulge here, and then we matched it to, we've aligned it to the tip of the crystal petal, flower petal. Well, crystal flower petal works too. And then it looks like we'll have enough for like just one more. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then 4 on the inside as well. And then if I had a little bit more wire, I would even do like a 5th one to attach here to here. But I don't, and I'm not really worried about that because it's still gonna look pretty nice. Let's see, still got a little bit more because that last one was the big one. This is also a pretty fast technique when you get towards the end. I only do it towards the end because the tip of this is so short that it's not gonna get caught on my hand reeling it. And if you do this, you want to keep in mind to kind of keep your grip on this wire loose. Otherwise, if you can see how this is because of my grip being really tight, it will, I don't know what the word would be, kind of like a tangle, do some sort of like a tangle, or like frizzles the wire. And that's not good for the wire. It's kind of like, tangling it or twisting it in a bad way. So let's see. I think I'll stop there, and then from here we'll do a big loop. Actually, we'll do like a neck loop. So a little pinch, 90-degree turn, and then with the rest of it, we'll bend around, and then from here we'll lock that loop in place and wrap downwards so that this tail, you see how the wire comes through and then there's a little tail here or a tip. We want to do our best to cover up that tip so it's not exposed. And then now that I've done that, I have a little bit of extra wire. I'll just clip that off. And then find a good spot to curl that tip in, just as long as it's curled inwards and isn't hanging out too much. So it does kind of look awkward without that pedal there. If I were to do this again, I would definitely keep that in mind and go for having enough wire to wrap 1/5, one more pedal there. But I think that we'll get away with it. And so what we're gonna do is just kind of bend or fold those flower petal tips around the stone, And then one idea would be to peel off some more 24 gauge wire and do like another ring. In fact, that's what we'll do. So kind of like the same thing before. It's like 1, 2, 3, about 3 times the length. Ooh, this might be a little short, but it'll work. And then curl the tip. Kind of lost my grip in the end there. So we'll just boom, there we go. And then we'll do one more. We'll do like, from the wrist to the forearm to the weenus, because I remember that we had a little bit too much length last time. And so what we'll do is just take the short end and just start wrapping around the 20 gauge wire. And then now that we've got like a little length started, what I'll do is just slide it through any one of these 4. Generally, I would do it at one of the top 2. If this is the necklace, then this will be the top. So I'll wrap it through one of the top guys here, and then back onto the 20 gauge wire. It might feel a little funny at first, but then as you continue onward wrapping, it'll get more locked and secure, and your grip won't be so funny or awkward. Alright, so we've got one and a little bit more to go to get to the next one. That should be about it. Might even be a little bit too much. But that's alright. This is going to be the back side, so it won't show as much. It doesn't necessarily need to be perfect. And then same thing, we're just going to weave it through this little pocket here and pull it tight. And by now you should start to feel that holding this wire in place is a little bit more secure because it's been attached at 2 different spots. It's like having 2 fingers of grip rather than 1 finger. Just is easier. Alright, and then I think that's a good amount of length, yep, to weave it through. One more time. And then now I'm going to switch hands because then I can just do this. I can twist the crystal around and just keep this wire, holding this wire in place. And this is another technique that really only works towards the end, because otherwise this wire would just be in the way. My hand would be in the way of this wire. Alright, so I think that's good there. I'm running out of 24 gauge wire to work with, so I'm just going to weave that last little bit. Tuck it in. And around. And by the way, if you notice, so that was like the very end of this wire, and I actually had to use the pliers just to help me get it through. And that's why another reason for why I always recommend having more wire than less, because if you're just trying to work with those little tips, it gets so janky in there and it's so hard to work with that you could actually even potentially mess up the wrap just by getting frustrated with it. Plus it's frustrating too. And it's not fun to work with something frustrating. So we've got like kind of two little eyes there. And I think it'll be okay that they don't need to be linked together if it's on the back side. There we have our little carnelian star flower.